Jaya Shri Krishna, Jaya Shri Ramachandra, Jaya Shri Lakshmi Narasimha. Today, I would like to speak about a very important and significant astrological event that occurred on the 18th of February this year, 2022, when Saturn, one of the slowest moving planets of the zodiac, a very disciplinary planet, moved into the economical nakshatra of Dhanishtha, a very powerful and very significant combination of two planetary forces, Saturn and Mars. What we have seen in history till date, what the past teaches us, is that whenever the forces of Saturn and Mars come together, we see a great reset, a kind of great reset in economic, social, and governance relations between humans. And we also see a flurry of changes in the geopolitical situation. We see bloody wars that go on during this time frame. And it's not a coincidence, of course, that the 2022 Russia and Ukraine war, which is one of the bloodiest wars in recent history, has occurred during the period when Saturn has entered the nakshatra of Mars, that is Dhanishtha. And this happened within 6 days. Dhanishtha is a very powerful and very positive nakshatra. It is owned by Mars, but it is actually ruled by Mars, which means there's a lot of Martian energy stored in Dhanishtha nakshatra. And Saturn entered this asterism on the 18th of February, early in the morning. And that is when these two forces came together, and we had the historic Russia and Ukraine war that just began, completely upsetting the global world order at this stage. And a lot of changes, a flurry of changes have occurred ever since it has begun. We would like to explore how this yoga works and what exactly happened. Basically, Saturn enters Dhanishtha on the 18th of February 2022. It exits Dhanishtha on the 24th of November 2023, which means that's the final exit, though there are some changes in between. And in mid-December 2021, the Kalasarpa Yoga begins, something our viewers will be very much aware of. I've made a separate video of that back in December and even in August. So late April, the Kalasarpa Yoga reaches its climax. And there's a median overlapping between these two situations. One, Saturn entering Dhanishtha, and the other, the Kalasarpa climax. Now, we would like to explore what exactly has happened over the last few months of this overlapping, of this transformation, and what could happen over the next few months of this happening. Basically, this astrological combination has impacted almost every area of our lives. We do not realize that it's an astrological combination that has a say here. But once we explore the tremendous powers of the celestial objects that are hovering around us, we'll understand slowly and steadily that not only forces inside the earth, there are forces outside the earth which hold a tremendous say in what's going to happen next. Moving ahead in what we could see very soon, I would like to move to the first area. We have already seen the geopolitical area, which has been heavily impacted due to this situation. And it started just 6 days after the Russia and Ukraine war started on the February 24th, 2022. The 24th of February 2022. Just within 6 days of Saturn entering Dhanishtha. This is not a coincidence, and this has a very deep meaning, which I would like to explain later. But for now, coming back here, the economy is one of the areas that is to be affected over the next 6 months, is what we had discussed in our video back in December. And here's what's happened. As you can see in the quote below, several important events over the next few months may rule human economic relations for many years to come. So this was a video I would recommend to all our viewers today. If you've not yet seen it, I would recommend watching this video. Once again, it gives a very good insight into how the Kalasarpa yoga has evolved and how it has caused so many things to happen over the last many months. And coming to today's topic, we would like to see how Saturn has basically affected this entire situation. Human economic relations have been reset. One of the world's largest commodity producers has been sanctioned. And this has basically totally changed the future of our economy for the time being. And alongside, we've also seen several new things happening, showing that the world is going through a very tremendous period of transformation. Going ahead, we can see the flurry of economic disruptions that has attacked us together, leading to high inflation, very high inflation. And that is certainly a very upsetting trend for the economy, as it creates a lot of differences between the rich and poor. It widens the gap between the rich and the poor. It creates social unrest, it creates economic unrest, and it creates a flurry of other economic problems that follow suit. Next, we see the instability that has been created by certain special astrological conditions. And that has created a global energy crisis, which we discussed last October. And this has been escalating ever since December 2021. And between December 2021 and May 2022, energy costs have skyrocketed. This is also one of the reasons why we have to take a look at the sign Aquarius. Saturn enters Aquarius is a very important subject, and Aquarius is basically Aquarius and even Capricorn are basically gaseous and earthy signs. And when Saturn transits between an earthy and gaseous sign, as we have discussed in our previous video, there is a very big transition in the energy scenario of the world, which we have already seen, and which has tremendously impacted the world. Natural gas, crude oil, and all forms of petroleum and diesel, everything has experienced a very stark and distinct change, and is very similar to the previous global energy crisis cycle that we saw in the late 1970s and in the early 1970s and around and of course around the 1980s. At this stage, we're going to be seeing each one of these macroeconomic effects that have been the macroeconomic situations that have been impacted by the Kalasarpa Yoga and Saturn's transit into Dhanishtha. It has impacted several areas, not only economy. It has impacted the markets. It has impacted the natural situation. It has impacted the earth itself. The very base of the earth has been shaken, which I would like to go to next as well. And a lot of changes have occurred within the earth and outside the earth, in the economy of humans, as well as the health situation of the world. There are certain positives as well, which I would like to discuss in the next few minutes. And coming to the risk assets, from cryptos to bubble stocks and inflated markets, over $11 trillion and possibly much more have been erased ever since the Kalasarpa Yoga began. And of course, as you mentioned back in December and even once more in August, in August and once more in December, the crypto market was in for very, very gloomy days. And this is when the bubble actually bursts. I would recommend our viewers to check the previous videos in which we had talked in detail about the situation of the big bubble that we are going through and the big burst that comes after every big bubble. But when was the question, and the video has covered it in a very detailed manner, which can be checked. Now coming back to the macroeconomic situation, the second largest economy of the world also shut down. It also locked down in the same time frame, which is also a very significant thing. We saw one of the most important economic hubs of the world being locked down, that is Shanghai in China, and a lot of other changes that have occurred. Now moving towards the next thing, we would like to take a look at the COVID-19 scenario and how it has been impacted. Fortunately, the impact on COVID-19 has been quite positive in terms of what we have discussed in our previous video made around January. Between March and April 2022, of course, between December and February 2022, we would see a very quick spread and new problems. Between March and April 2022, it would intensify, and mainly this would cause negative effects to the government overreaction. So the governments would overreact, is what we had discussed last year and even in January. And after May 2022, we would see things cooling off. So now, of course, as we have seen it, things are already changing to a large extent, and that is one of the positive changes that have been impacted. Over here, as we can see, lockdowns around the world around May 2020, and now we can see the major and drastic change. The first picture is about lockdowns that we have seen around May 2020, and the next picture is about what we saw around today, just a few days back, June 23rd. So overall, the world is opening up once again, and many things relating to COVID-19 are actually slowly and steadily reducing. We might see a few more problems over the next 1 year or so, but after 2023, we should see this being no more a major problem in the list of problems that we have today for the world. So when it comes to COVID-19, what I am focusing on in my research more extensively is about the impact on the people, their daily activities, the economy, and the health of the people, more than say counting COVID cases. And when we go by that metric, and when we go by the health of the people, the number of deaths that are occurring, and the lockdowns, and the the series of norms that have been placed over humanity in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, I see a lot of changes based on data. There are a lot of positive changes that have been coming ever since Jupiter and Saturn have started to separate. And when I say separate, I mean starting November 2021, a lot of changes have come into picture which have actually weakened COVID-19 significantly. And that further strengthens the astrological view that there would be a slow and steady recovery after May 2022. And coming back again now, I would like to discuss about the next subject in a little bit more clarity. This is about the natural disasters and the significant events that have been impacted in Mother Nature. As we've discussed in our previous video, dated December 16, 2021, last year, we would see extreme weather events and powerful natural disasters, very powerful reactions from Mother Nature, and Mother Nature herself is making a powerful transition. We talked about volcanoes, earthquakes, problems with water. We talked about disasters relating to water. We've talked about tornadoes and other major events. And it is very significant to say that every one of these events have occurred in a large scale. For example, the Hunga Tonga, if my pronunciation is right, the Tonga volcano was the most ferocious eruption in 140 years, and it occurred on the 15th of January 2022, and it's one of the most powerful one of the most powerful events in the history of humans recording volcanoes. Although there were very few actual impacts to humans, it was one of the most ferocious eruptions, the loudest ones, the strongest ones in 140 years. The last one was the 1883 eruption of the Krakatoa mountain, which was very disastrous. But this time, by God's grace, it was not a disaster in terms of human deaths, but it was one of the most ferocious eruptions in 140 years. And that is very much likely, and I'm very sure about it, it is a direct result of the astrological yogas that were present during this time frame, both the Sankranti of the sun within the Kalasarpa yoga and the overall situation of the astrological zodiac during this time frame. Moving ahead to the next subject, we're going to be seeing why all this happened during this very significant time frame. We're seeing a combination of Dhanishtha and Saturn. A combination of Dhanishtha, which is a nakshatra, an asterism, one of the 27 asterisms, and Saturn, one of the planets. We're going to see some of those important effects here. Shani basically denotes penance. Shani means Saturn, which means the slow-moving force. Shani denotes penance, perseverance, discipline, melancholy, grief, slow decline, and sometimes very fast changes. Sometimes it denotes very positive aspects as well, but this time, since it was transiting through Dhanishtha, an enemy nakshatra, which means Dhanishta's lord is Mars, and Mars and Saturn are not, the energies of Mars and Saturn actually don't go that well together. And when they come together, we almost always see a major, economic or, social problem. And here we have Dhanishtha nakshatra. So Dhanishtha nakshatra denotes the monetary supply, treasury, wealth, markets, transactions, firepower, and warfare. And we have seen tremendous changes in each one of these areas. Shani, on the other hand side, indicates penance, perseverance, discipline, melancholy, grief, and slow decline. When we combine the two, we get a beautiful and very accurate description of what is happening today. A combination of these things, a very dangerous war, a very powerful transition in the economy, combined with a global energy crisis and a looming global food crisis as well. So this is what we're seeing at this stage in the global economy, and it's very significant. It is going to continue for, say, another 1.5 years starting April 2023. I would like to make this very clear, as I've said in my previous videos as well. 1.5 years starting April 2023. A massive transition would be experienced across different sectors of humanity as well as Mother Nature, because this is so this is basically nearly once in a 500 years astrological events cycle. So the cycle of astrological events, for example, longest lunar eclipse, one of the most powerful Kalasarpa yogas involving all the planets, and alongside Saturn and Mars conjunction happening within the happening within the Kalasarpa yoga, and so many more astrological events happening all together just after, of course, almost 1.5 years after a great conjunction is very, very significant. I would like to reiterate the dates once again that we all have to pay attention to. February 18, 2022, Saturn enters Dhanishtha Nakshatra. November 24, 2023, Saturn exits Dhanishtha Nakshatra. However, after April 2023, we would see some positive changes. Of course, there would be a lot of problems. Still, Saturn exits Dhanishtha. And after November 24, 2023, as mentioned in my previous videos, 1.5 years after Rahu and Ketu make their transit, we would see a median overlapping, creating a totally different cycle for the world. And I would like to be very clear about this once again. So to summarize everything, Saturn's entry into Dhanishtha is a significant and powerful event that needs a lot of research. Further research is necessary. And alongside, the Saturn's movement into Dhanishtha Nakshatra is a powerful event. And of course, it has had a very tremendous impact. It will continue to have a tremendous impact. We're likely to see violence in Ukraine also continue until Saturn exits the Saturn exits the asterism of Dhanishtha. So again, until Saturn exits the asterism of Dhanishtha, we'll continue to see economic tightening. We'll continue to see problems relating to the markets. We'll continue to see problems relating to the economy. We'll continue to see problems relating to inflation, and the war will continue to be as tense as it is, or a little bit lesser, but it will continue to remain in the same term. And we're continuing to see violence and misunderstanding between humans. This is what happens when Saturn and Mars combine their forces in a volatile astrological time frame. The positive here is that some cycles are breaking. That is, the COVID-19 cycle is slowly disintegrating. As we can see, we are seeing the lowest deaths in several months, and we're also seeing a very positive situation in terms of economies opening up. We're also seeing the lockdowns opening up. We're seeing people breathing freely. We're seeing people opening up slowly and steadily. I wish very much that people understand how much respect they're supposed to give to Mother Nature and how they're supposed to live in this, transitioning world, very close to Mother Nature. Avoid moving away from the Mother Nature. The present scenario actually, is actually, yes, we have the tendency as humans to move with the scenario that the world is going towards. But we should stop right there and we should try to go back to Mother Nature instead. Be contrarian. And that is when you can survive. Sometimes contrarian skills are necessary to survive. And at this stage, we need to go back, as any time in the past, the present, and the future. We need to go back to Mother Nature. And I've reiterated this in every video. I would like to say that once again, we all need to get back to Mother Nature. We need to utilize more nature-friendly resources. We need to be living in a symbiosis with Mother Nature. And that's when there is human prosperity. That is when Mother Nature and humans can coexist in a friendly and prosperous manner for both, and a healthy manner for both. The healthy growth is only when humans and nature come together in a very positive way. And that is only when we understand that Mother Nature is like a mother and not just another exploitable resource. I would like to end